everybody. Oh, Brendan's got the mask on. There we go. That is a terrifying mask. Wow. What is that? I'm drinking some Hewlett & Dunn coffee.
Like this is like Squidward, is this?
Yeah, Squidward.
Yeah. What my daughter? This is my daughter's mask night.
Well, Mr. Krabs would have something to say about that. I'll be telling you the only one that can say.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Get your sugar high. Get your sugar high ready to go. We got a lot to talk about today. Dave Bartoo is going to check in with us again from out in Portland with the Metro in the mountains of Oregon, talking some betting lines today, some pick'ems. We're going to have fun with that. His rankings, what he thinks going to look like. CFP launches their first rankings. I think it's Tuesday night. So be in front of the TV. Look, do us a favor. Take a picture with your phone of the QR codes. We're live on X, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We do this every day of the week. We got a lot of shows on this channel. It's your hour of power coming up. And remember, share us and like us. It means the world to us. We had 108,000 people watch Wednesday's show on this one Twitter channel. There's other channels too. Thank you, and thank you a million times over. Look, let's get started, gentlemen. It's scary today. A lot of kids gonna be running around. Be mindful of that, kids everywhere, getting the sugar high on. Doug, you had an interesting take that you wanted to bring in. And I told Dave Bartoo, I said, I imagine your phone is just in your ear. You don't even sleep with all the coaches and ADs talking to you right now. And then now, as Frank said, an AD opening at Louisiana at LSU. But Doug, you had an interesting take you wanted to throw at us.
Yeah, I was going to wait for Bartoo.
Okay.
He might. Can we wait for Bartoo to do
Yeah. He'll come on.
He will undoubtedly want to react to part of what I'm a little brief monologue.
Yeah, and for everybody watching, just looking out here, you got a dozen coaches right now already gone. This madness, and Doug had a great question yesterday for our panel with John Hartwell and Matt Dean and Tony Barnhart. How do we stop this maddening firing coaches 3-4 weeks into the season? It's distracting from the regular season, and you're screwing your fans because they're paying. It's like you're going to the 5-star restaurant, the best restaurant in New Orleans or Birmingham or Memphis, wherever, Ocala. And you get the appetizers, but you don't get the main course.
Rob, you're screwing your players too.
Yeah, I was going to say the players too. Yes.
Now, you think Summerall might have had a few distractions leading into that blowout last night?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's all. What was the final score?
God, it was like 46-28 in that range, maybe.
Yeah. And Tulane, what's happening to their season now?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with y'all. I think we these distractions are they're like a fire that's just gone unchecked, out of control.
Well, I don't think it's any coincidence that the governor of the state that has probably two of the shocks between Tulane getting waxed when they thought they were going into the playoff, and our mess. I mean, since the last time I was on with y'all from the hunting cabin, we've had a few things happen at LSU. Holy mackerel.
Just a few, Frank.
And I was there this weekend, and I was there front and center. And you guys know I was texting y'all all weekend. Yeah. When a jabroni like me knows everything that's about to happen, and I'm calling it like it's Babe Ruth pointing over center field, there's no control. I mean, stuff's leaking left and right. But the last couple of days, for the governor of the state to get on and basically demasculate your AD for 25 million clicks across the country, and we're only 20 years removed from Adam Sandler's portrayal of Bobby Boucher.
Yeah.
And now it's like, we can't get rid of that stereotype. It's crazy what's happened in the last week. And look, it's so crazy right now. Brian Kelly's not even thought about. His corpse isn't even cold yet. And we're off to an AD resigning last night. We've got a president. I mean, we're waiting for purple smoke to come billowing in over the Memorial Tower to say that the Board of Supervisors, which serve at the pleasure of the governor of the state, and then they decide who the president is. And the reason we don't have a president, it was with politics. He got run off, right?
Yeah.
And look, there was no secret around here that Landry and Scott Woodward were not aligned,
Yeah.
and neither was President Tate. And when you come in and you're heavy-handed, I mean, when you're stepping into the office of the guy that used to have the deduct box and basically built LSU Stadium because he could get away with it because it was dormitories.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a shock. This is central casting. But the
Yeah.
problem is we've now howitzered our foot in a coaching search, because who in the hell wants to come do this? And before you get a coach, you got to get now an AD. And this is an AD that brought 4 national champions to LSU in the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even the one that gave Fisher the bad contract.
That's right. That is
him.
Yeah.
It was Bjork that came in and gave him the ridiculous buyout noose around the neck.
Yeah.
So this is a comedy of cluster of errors. It's a comedy of shooting yourself in the foot, and I mean, just you're going to get the fallout.
Duffy, I feel for you because I think LSU made a bold move. I mean, it was the right move letting Kelly go, especially under the circumstances. I'm not going to take your listeners through the tabloid of how you may or may not have negotiated a $50 million buyout south of and way south of that. People can read the tea leaves.
It's undefeated.
Because I got a lot of love for my man Duff and LSU Nation. I really do. I think there's still absolutely a pathway to get this, the end result to be what you want. Now it may translate into, I think it frankly will translate into Lane Kiffin, who is the hot commodity, whether he should be or not. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
But Kiffin, you make me bet, I think he's in Oxford next year.
Well, the interesting thing is the time frame that we've got, Doug, because we've now got to get a president in.
Yep.
And I think my boy Roos from McNeese is the guy. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
look,
for AD, you mean?
Yeah. No, for president. So yeah, Wade Roos is the president of McNeese, which is over in Lake Charles. And he is going to be more than likely the one of the 6 that they're going to tab for president. The problem is if you're going to get a good AD, you can't take the AD's ability away from hiring the most prominent thing that he's going to do in his life at LSU is hire the LSU football coach.
You have to at least create the illusion that he's making the hire.
That's right. And so if you hire the AD before, the coach before the AD comes in, well, now you've demasculated the president before he's even started. You've demasculated any a coach that might want to come in. He's not going to want to step into this. And then the AD is going to say, wait a minute, this was my biggest job. I'm not going to get another crack at this, hopefully, for 10 years, unless we have another Kelly flame out at year 3.5. So it is a mess, and you've got recruiting coming up. This would not be as bad if we could have February recruiting. We've got early December. We're going to literally in a month, and that's the problem.
The great, what's his name? Will Leach, the Athletic. Put a quote. This is great writing. Rob always talks about great writing. We had Tony Barnhart and so many good writers on the show. And I quote, "Losing makes us all unhinged. There is no more primal emotion than the fear of losing something you believe to be yours, that you considered rightly or wrongly your birthright. This season has felt like a revolution in college football. But when there is a revolution, a real revolution, someone's head is going to end up on a spike in the town square at some point. Nobody is ever calm during a revolution. Everyone's getting lit on fire."
Well, and to your point, Doug, let me give you a little bit behind the Bastille. When all of this started to unravel on Sunday, Kelly went in and basically said, "Okay, I'm getting rid of my offensive coordinators, my co-ones, though only one was making calls, Joe Sloan. I'm going to get rid of a couple of other people. I'm going to make this right." And here's the thing. He could have gotten away with it if he was more likable. From what I'm hearing from inside is he came in heavy-handed and told Scott Woodward, this is what we're going to do, and you don't have a say. And Scott Woodward, to his credit, which why I'm upset that I'm losing an AD that's got the stones to do this, he said on the other side and said, carpetbagger, grab your shit and leave. And that's what wound up happening. He fired Kelly when Kelly was trying to throw other people under the bus. And I applaud him for that. If you were sitting in Tiger Stadium like I was on the 43-yard line, 25 rows up, you could hear the money going into the hat in the suites above me. I mean, it wasn't going to stand. It was an embarrassment.
Well, it doesn't happen as fast as you want it to. I mean, I remember when Auburn lost October 13th of 2018 to Tennessee. I was talking to a friend of mine. He goes, in my box alone, this is blow your mind, $2 million was pledged in the fourth quarter. And I was like, my God. But the thing that gets me about
25
LSU,
times that is what I heard. We had all 53 million by the time that the game was over. By the time that the cult was whooping and hollering in Tiger Stadium, the 53 million was already raised.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we had a couple of aces up our sleeve, allegedly, and that got bought down.
I'm going to tell you something interesting. I heard from Ole Miss. Yancey Porter told me this. In the last week, 2 individuals gave a check, one for 20 and one for 10 million to the Grove Collective. And I keep tabs on that Grove Collective, guys. When Auburn and Kiffin were messing with each other in 22, it had 11,000 members. It is ginormous. It's a populist movement. And Doug, you think about that's 30 million from those 2 people. Let me just remind you, go back and look at the tobacco settlement with Dickie Scruggs as the lead attorney and the other 14 attorneys. Dickie Scruggs, Ole Miss guy, $700 million was his take. If you don't think there's money at Ole Miss, you're out of your damn mind. There's money. Here's the deal. There's money at every school. Florida's got so much money. It's insane. They're going to get a great coach at Florida. LSU's going to get one. But I want to tell you what, Doug, I want to ask your thoughts about Auburn. What do you think if Auburn wins?
Y'all better hurry up. I know that. Y'all better hurry up. The line's forming.
I want the writers' talk.
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for asking. First of all, I got a lot of love for our producer, Brenda. You better love your producer. He can hurt you on the show.
Amazing. God love him.
So I think the most glaringly obvious beneficiary of the chaos in Baton Rouge and I guess New Orleans is the Florida Gators, because, you know, if it was true, and this is a good debate, and there's an argument on both sides, which is the better job, Florida as we sit, not 20 years ago, Florida or LSU. I can make a case for both. I absolutely can. You've won natties at both. Yep. But, you know, let's suppose Lane Kiffin does get in a wandering mood soon. Then there's a case that it's a little cleaner, maybe a little less chaotic, maybe a little more organized to consider Gainesville, because that's also a shorter drive from Kiffin's 60-foot seagoing boat. So, you know, but LSU, remember, Duff, Pat Dye was not the first hire. Auburn was poised to hire Vince Dooley. And when that didn't work out, Dooley decided he loved Georgia too much, had been there too long. That was his home. Auburn fans probably felt like they lost and all was lost. It worked out pretty well with hiring the second, third, or maybe the fourth choice in Pat Dye.
Well, Doug, when it comes to Lane Kiffin, I think we're at a disadvantage. I go back to Ginger and Marianne. Lane likes those blondes. That's Florida. We got brown-eyed Cajun brown-haired girls. I think we're at a distinct disadvantage.
Let me tell you what, Dave Bartoo up and at 'em early in the morning in Forest Grove, Oregon.
Probably elk hunting, I bet.
Yeah, I had lunch with
I just want to apologize to Dave. I was like pinching some virtual wires to get everything back to work there. Apologize there, leaving you in the green room.
Thank you.
It's okay. I'm just barely waking up. There's a lot going on at the farm this morning.
Well, you got another AD to work on.
Yeah, Dave,
it's been a minute. I didn't even hear that. I'm sitting here and I'm like, is this what it's like to like be in the dark about something and show up an hour late to the party?
Woodward's gone.
Yeah. So Dave, I had lunch with Matt Dean yesterday, and he said that Tyler, his son, he's excited about meeting you. He's going to make that happen. And we talked a lot about you. You've got a lot going on right now. Kind of And I know Doug's got a question he wanted to throw at you, but let's get started with what's happening in your end of the world, because we got a lot of big games this weekend in the SEC, some betting lines we're going to talk about. But hey, the ball's yours.
Oh yeah, well, you know something. It's I actually enjoyed just being in the green room. I was about to leave and just let those guys talk because it was a great listen. But the one thing I wanted to point out in my work, because of, since 2017 we've been helping ADs hire head coaches, specifically helping head coaches staff. And I can address the Brian Kelly, the two glaring staffing problems that probably ended this whole thing for him from day one. But we were talking about, you brought up Hugh Freeze, and it's not just Hugh. I think this is a universal FBS issue. Now that LSU's out there and Penn State and Florida, those are some big dominoes. Those are really big dominoes. And if you start firing your guy, your domino is going to be behind. Right. And you don't know where these dominoes are going to fall either, because let's say Lane does go to anywhere. Well, now Ole Miss is open. Where is that job relative to yours? And there's not a lot of good guys out there. You know, on paper, there's not a lot of good guys for all. I mean, we've had 11 firings already. 11. You know, and so you're basically looking at 22 replacements, right? You know, there's not a lot of elite offensive coordinators. There's not a lot of elite defensive coordinators with buzz. And so I think there's going to be several guys that are on a hot seat that seat isn't quite as hot internally, simply because nobody feels there's somebody better out there to replace them right now.
Can't afford to move.
Yeah.
It's a revolution, Dave. This is not a few surprises. This is a freaking revolution. I bet challenges some of your data, doesn't it?
I don't know if it challenges the data in so much, because I had an athletic director ask me the question the other day, and he was like, so and I think I don't know how many guys have been fired so far, but he was like, inside the data, what's a common thread in the data that everybody could have seen on these guys before it happened? And so I pulled up all the numbers, and you know, our database for performance for every coach in the country goes back to 2010, including unit coaches. I mean, everything you could think of, and I couldn't find one. There wasn't like, oh my gosh, these guys all suck at close games, or oh my gosh, these guys are all crappy when they're playing a team with less talent. There was no statistical number that was in there. And so I went back to what we do. Let's take a look at the staffs, and you will find almost all of 10 out of the 11 guys made at least one major coordinator staffing error that on paper was avoidable. Basically saying he hired a crappy coach and it cost him a year or two. And in a year or two in this industry, that costs you your job. Yeah. So
House and Sloan for us. Spot on.
No, it was House. It started with House.
House was horrible.
It started with House. See, this is why. Okay, this is for everybody listening during the silly season. Do this every year. There's two key things I need you to do in your head, folks, that you're listening right now. Okay, close your eyes and just go. Number one, 99% of everything I see or hear on social media is a lie. It's crap thrown on walls. It's a dart throw. I have never been in a head coach search or a staffing search, and I've been in hundreds of them. I have never had one thing leak. Not one damn thing. Mm-hmm. So everything that's out there is 99% BS, 1% boosters and agents trying to get their guy out there. That's
My source has told me.
Yeah. The sources are bull crap, 100%. And now I just totally lost my train of thought on that.
Talking about House.
Yeah, House. Back to House. Okay, so is identifying these things. It's don't grade the head coach hire until he has his staff. Okay, because on paper, okay, from my point of view, Brian Kelly was the best available head coach that cycle on paper, unequivocally. That was a good, rock solid hire. He'd done it at Cincinnati. He'd done it at Notre Dame. Recruiting was solid. But the question the concern we always had was his staffing. And it always took a year or two for him to get it right. But eventually he did. When he went to LSU and decided to keep Matt House, that went from an A grade to a C, just like that. Wow. Because Matt House was a 2.5-star defensive coordinator with a low ceiling and a low floor. And the entire defensive staff was graded the second worst defensive staff in the SEC before Brian Kelly coached a game. Yeah. Right? So now you're behind that year, and then you fire everybody, which was what he should have done in the first place. And then you bring in Baker and a bunch of other guys, which were good upgrades, but now they're a year behind. So now you're 2 years behind. So finally you got the defensive side of it right. Top 10 defense, national championship, almost level defense through the week before last, before A&M. But then you go next man up, Joe Sloan, who only had 2 pretty average years in his track record. Man, you're LSU. You go hire the best available. If you have $59 million to fire a guy, you go hire the best offensive defensive coordinator money can buy. Not next man up. I hate buddy hires. I hate next man up. And yeah, it was a calculated risk by Brian, but man, you take risks, you get burned, and here we are. Everybody's been fired in Baton Rouge.
Meanwhile, the curious case of DJ Durkin as a defensive coordinator, I think he always had a respectable pedigree, but maybe not enough body of work in a league like the SEC. And you look at, it's not just schemes. Who could have seen it coming in August for the love that Xavier Atkins, LSU transfer, would just turn into a beast? Best linebacker I've seen at Auburn in 30 years, with apologies to Takeo Spikes.
Yeah, since Takeo.
since Takeo.
Yeah.
And DJ was a good risk, right? Well, when I was asked about that hire, that was because our job isn't to tell head coaches what to do. It's to take the guys they like and get them off the bad ones. That's our first job, is avoid risk. A good head coach with decent coaching can survive. It's the guy with the low floor we got to avoid. DJ Durkin, almost 4.5-star defensive coordinator. He's been a lot of places. He's traveled, and there's some recency bias there. But you look at his body of work. This is a top 20th percentile defensive coordinator since 2010, and he's outperforming himself this year. Number 14 year to date in offensive scoring efficiency. That defense is awesome at Auburn now.
They're not getting enough credit because of the losing, but you want to get pissed off as an Auburn or any fan that just loves football and believes in excellence. There are only 4 teams, Dave, that defenses have kept their opponents under 24 points, and they are Ohio State, Miami. Somebody's going to have to help me with a third, and Auburn is in the 4. Auburn,
Indiana.
Thank you. Yeah, and so those are 3 teams that are going to almost certainly be playoff teams and possibly make a deep run. And you got to be my kingdom for an offense that can put up 25 a game.
Yeah. I want to ask you, Doug, you had a take that you wanted to ask Dave on. I remember.
Well, it's really, if you want to save me a minute and a half at the end, Dave is on fire. So let's keep him rolling. Okay. And let me give this quick monologue that'll be funny toward the end.
Okay. So, and let me ask you this, Dave. We got a lot of games this weekend in the SEC. No Bama, but Arkansas, Mississippi State, Auburn and Kentucky, Florida, Georgia, world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Why do they tell people not to call it that? That's what it is, and we call it what it is. And then we've got LSU is
like Department of War, Rob, not Department of Defense.
That's right. Now, Ole Miss goes to South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina goes to Ole Miss this weekend. Tennessee is going to host Oklahoma, and then you've got Vanderbilt going to Texas. I want to start with Vandy at Texas, Dave Bartoo. The Doors Mania, it's crazy. They've got the oldest team in the league. What do you think happens down in Austin? They usually get up, as Ken Capps always says, a couple of times a year. In the SEC, you got to get up every game.
Yeah, well, something. Let's look at the historical numbers. Up until the last couple of years, I could never do analysis like this. And now that I've taught AI how to parse through the last 10 years of betting data in college football. I can actually give everybody real numbers on this. So the horns, just by the numbers, okay, this is historical. So you can't argue with me on this. Go to hell. The game opened at DraftKings -3.5. Okay, and historically in this window, so the last 4 weeks of the season, so week 6, 7, 8, 9. When I say historically, not the whole season, because college football and NFL go up and down. Last 4 weeks historically, -3.5 open. That straight up covers 60% of the time. Straight up covers it. 20 let's see here. What is that? 35 events. So we are automatically leaning Texas to win and cover that thing on the open. But the line dropped. It dropped 1 point. It's down to -2.5. And historically, again, you have a line movement that dropped a full point. Now at -2.5, if it closes at 2.5, we're talking a coin flip. It's only a 52.7% cover rate. So the line makers come in at 3.5. The line shakers have dropped it down to 2.5. If you bet this on the spread, you know something I don't know.
Go Doors.
But because it right now it is a coin flip game historically from that standpoint.
So Dave, you talked a lot in the preseason about Arch Manning is going to fail a lot this year because he just didn't have the starts behind him. And so their offensive line has struggled all year. Vanderbilt's been dominant. Why does everybody think Vanderbilt's going to go out there and quit doing what they've been doing all season long and Texas suddenly be something that they haven't been all year? That's the story to me.
That's amazing because, Texas is in a 3-year regression on offensive scoring efficiency. And Pete Kwiatkowski is the glue that's holding that whole thing together. If Texas has Matt House, Steve Sarkisian is counting his money with Brian Kelly. I'm dead serious about that. Pete Kwiatkowski, you want to talk about underrated, underappreciated? That's one of the top 3 defensive coordinators in the country. Yeah. And if it wasn't for him, Texas has a top 5 scoring efficiency defense again.
Yeah.
The offense isn't even top 25. This thing's being held together by defense, just like Oklahoma.
No doubt.
And so is that going to be any different? No, I don't. This is an awesome matchup. You have a top 3 opponent adjusted scoring efficiency defense going up a top 3 scoring efficiency offense. That's what we should be talking about. This is a massive, massive collision of quality units. So that tells me the game is going to be decided by the Vanderbilt defense and the Texas offense. That's where the ugly is in this football game. But somebody blowing the other one out by the numbers, by the performance year to date, I don't see it. I think it's going to be an absolute white knuckler, and I am here for it.
Get your popcorn ready.
Good theater.
Yep.
Frank, look at another one, Florida, Georgia. What do you like? And we get everybody's take on that.
I don't like anything about that. Why would you bet that? Seriously. Georgia's on a 4-year defensive regression. They haven't had a top 25 defense in 2 years, right? You going to bet on that? No. Florida, you don't know what you're going to get out of Florida, right? It's still a top 15 recruiter. You still got DJ Lagway. Guys are healthy. This is a classic trap game for Georgia to look right past them. So, then by the numbers, I'm not messing with it. It's a neutral. This is a big time game. But I think we can see anything from this game because both teams, not just Florida, both teams have holes that specifically Georgia didn't have 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Dave,
keep your money in your pocket on this one.
Yep.
Go to the bar.
Money not lost is money kept.
Sorry, I'm on y'all. Dave, may not be enough data to call it significant, statistically significant, but I am curious. When you have an interim coach take over, is there a relaxing effect? The team has nothing to lose; they can go for broke and play. Have you ever looked at that and trying to get a read on these games?
No, but man, that's exciting thought right there, right? And the reason I don't think I'd ever thought about it, and you probably never thought about it before, is because we didn't have this batshit crazy stuff in October. Is why,
For sure.
right?
Lost their minds.
I'm taking crazy pills. 34-8, you suck. Get out. Here's your money.
You have to throw red meat to the angry fans, right?
Yep.
Oh man, you know what? What happened to the good old days of the head coach just firing the OC or DC and throwing them under the bus and moving on? Huh?
Well, if you do want a fun case study, Frank Davis at LSU has stepped in as interim head coach before. Frank Wilson, Davis, old New Orleans guy. Frank Wilson has stepped in and done interim coaching, so that would be a cool, quick look to see what his past is, to see what we might see in the next 4 games.
Frank Wilson, why do I know that name?
Yeah, he's a longtime assistant coach, knows Louisiana high school guys incredibly. Probably one of our best recruiters, running backs coach. I think he was one of the first ones that brought in. It was right after Kevin Falk from Caring Crow. But he was on the staff from 2000 on up. But he's our interim coach right now, and he's already opened up practice in the facility to the former players, which Brian Kelly shut totally out. He shut everything about LSU tradition out. Honestly, Kelly did.
Ooh.
Yeah, and the immediate things that Frank Wilson has done has kind of rejuvenated a little bit, at least on the team and the former players. And it's the only positive that's going on around our program right now is Frank Wilson. He is a lifer. He is a gym rat.
Yeah.
Football coach.
Okay. Shaky coming in to rescue the defense a year ago.
And the best recruiter we've ever had.
I would say, like with LSU, and to answer the question, no, I don't have the data about guys getting fired in October and then what happens. But I think we could probably agree without the data. This is my immediate take on that. LSU becomes the most dangerous trap game in the country right now.
Yeah.
This is a program that has the 3rd most NFL starts in the last 10 years. This program has NFL players everywhere. Okay. This is a national championship contender, talent-wise, on paper, every single year. Period. No exceptions. Okay. And so to now overlook LSU and all of that athletic talent is, to me, that's just a monster trap game. So I think LSU is going to break some hearts for teams that look past them going, oh, their head coach is gone. If you're playing LSU the rest of this year, if you're a head coach, you better keep your guys' heads on a swivel because, a talented team playing loose against a team that is already looking past you thinking they're going to beat you, that is a recipe for disaster for the team that's expecting to win.
And even guys selling popcorn at the stadium are pissed off right now. I'm telling you right now, we're going to be an angry bunch.
And David Pollock, who I think was a travesty that he's not still on air, SEC Network or wherever.
Yes.
But he makes a great point. Our coaches like to look for what tendencies when the head coach is gone, and sometimes coordinators are not operating the same way. There's not any tendencies to look for, so it's very dangerous.
I'll tell you one thing: we will be running the ball more, whether we can do it effectively or not. I can tell you that will happen.
And I heard Frank Wilson's comments. Really, really sharp guy, and he was at Ole Miss with Coach O. Everybody likes to make fun of Coach O, but he may talk funny and do some funny stuff. But that guy knows football. God, he knows. We talked, Dan and Dave. We had Dan Williams. And Dan played for Tennessee. And Coach O was his defensive line coach in 2009. And he said it on the air. It was hilarious. He said he was real nice. Welcome. I'm glad to be here at Tennessee. And then when the door closed, he goes, "You y'all MFers are mine." And and I'm talking to Dan, and Dan Williams, cool, interesting. He was a couple of weeks ago. Rich Clark, the executive director of the playoff committee, was in Memphis. And Rich is talking to him, Dave, and he goes, Dan Williams, he said, I had a classmate at the Air Force Academy who was our mentor, one of the top fighter pilots named Danny Williams, who was killed tragically in an accident. And Dan Williams looked at him, he said, that's who I'm named after. That was my uncle. It's a small world we live in, man. And Rich Clark is an impressive guy. The executive director of the playoff committee was a B-1 bomber squadron leader in every war in the Middle East in the last 30 years. And he's now in Dallas. I guess he's going into lockdown this weekend, Dave.
DEFCON 1.
Yeah, he
Oh
said,
yeah, it's, you know something. I still got a bone to pick with Rich though, because we were promised. Okay, I'm gonna sidebar rant on this for a second
Go
here.
ahead.
But son of a bitch. Anyways, we were promised transparency, and right off the bat, Hancock gave us the ranking formula. How the committee is supposed to rank these teams. Yeah. People like to think, oh, the committee has their own set of rules and they can do what they want. No, they live in this box of rules. And Rich said at the beginning of the year, they're changing the rules. They're going to change how SOS and strength of how they calculate strength of schedule, how they calculate strength of record, and how they apply it. Right? Has he given the people how they're doing that? No. There is no transparency in this, and it really pisses me off because strength of schedule has no correlation to quality of the team. None. Okay? But you know who has the toughest strength of schedule this year? South Carolina and Florida. Why aren't they in the playoff picture? You know? So, anyways, Rich, you need to tell everybody how this is calculated and how it's being applied, because right now there is zero transparency, because that's just a big, giant beauty pageant. And it drives me nuts that the fans can't see or at least predict how it's going to be used and applied.
Why not stream the meetings? Yeah. Why not stream them? Let everybody see.
First, can we stream the Birmingham command center?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, like the ACC replay booth. Yeah. Show everybody talking about it, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to know how the sausage is made, man. Ranking 25 teams in a couple hours over a medium rare steak and a glass of wine. Nobody wants to see that.
Dave, it's not a subtle point Dave is making at all.
Yeah. The next time we get Rich Clark on, Dave, you're coming on with us. And it's going to be Rich.
Man,
there we go.
I like Rich. And I think if you ask him the question, you know, he'll have an answer for you. I mean, but I think he said one thing he said he watches about 15 games every Saturday. He said, when I go to a game, that pulls me away from watching games. He said, I'm much more effective. And his wife gives him a hard time because, look, honey, I'm working. I mean, I'm working on the couch. But I do think transparency in the replay booth would be huge. Even seeing the cigar smoke from the back room. Sure. Because as the season goes on, if a team is in the hunt for the playoff and they're playing a team that's going nowhere on the road to nowhere fast, they're not going to win the game. I mean, Doug, everybody here agree. We all know that's what happens. And if it's your team that's hot, you're going to be the beneficiary of those favorable calls.
I want to know if I got voted 13th because he's on his fourth bottle of Chateaubriand.
It's ridiculous, and we invoked the review, the Birmingham Command Center. Shame on you, Sankey. If the ACC can let us hear what BS is going on in there. And by the way, article published this week about a poll. What were the 10 worst officiating calls? And I hate to sound like a whiny Auburn fan, but I'll do it anyway. Yeah. Auburn, the top 1, 2, and 3 were Auburn's game at OU and hosting Georgia. And, you know, those games, you still go win the game. I get that. But give us some transparency.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, well, crews, I can tell you, referee crews are very, very different. We've been tracking referee crew behavior for over a decade now by the crew leader. I can tell you every game Williamson's ever reffed, and I can tell you how the judgment flags are thrown, okay? Because there's non-judgment, you know, your false starts, your offsides, the stuff that we can all call from our seat, but we focus on the judgment calls and their behavior and how they keep the games close. There's a referee crew in the Big Ten that has been officiating for 9 years with the same lead official. 68% of their games, the underdog covers.
Ooh. And let's face it, all in the back of our minds, we're all thinking about the Tulane point shaving, the Boston College point shaving, now the NBA stuff. It's all in the back of our minds. The more transparency, the less thought that there is. And this is a $1 trillion freaking industry if you throw in gambling.
Yes.
With this.
And
transparency is really needed.
I made the point. We've all watched enough true crime movies to know that the FBI has technology and others. They do pattern recognition. Dave Bartoo's doing pattern recognition about college football and coaches and other things. But there comes a point. I get it. Most of us probably deserve to be beat down on a message board if we suggested there was corruption in officiating. But if you do pattern recognition on some of this bullshit, excuse my French, Rob, but then it reaches the point where there's so much horrific calling in a game, and Williamson in that Georgia game stopping play for reviews 5 or 6 times in the last minute and a half of the second quarter. Essentially, 5 or 6 free timeouts for Kirby. But there's so much incompetence is not enough, Dave, to explain what's going on. You have to start being open-minded about the possibility of corruption or influencing.
Well, full disclosure is the key.
Yeah, and this actually surprised a lot of people because like I said, we track judgment calls and we track officiating crew behavior. In 2024, the conference that had the biggest ratios of flags against the favorite was the SEC. There were more the ratio of flag judgment calls against the favorite versus the underdog was and the SEC was the only conference that had more flags against their favorites than against their underdogs. Believe it or not, right? But guess what correlates with that? Guess which conference had the most underdog covers last year?
SEC.
Right? Because understand, a judgment call on the defense, like if you're watching a game, if you're watching Vanderbilt, Texas this weekend, and Vanderbilt has defensive passing interference, Texas has defensive holding, a defensive judgment call is almost worth a field goal.
Yeah.
Almost worth a field goal. It's almost 3 points that you're putting on the board. It's the most damaging expected point drive changer out there is a defensive judgment call against them. So
another theory, I'd love to see the data because like I say all the time, my dad taught me, rest his soul, Doug, just because you're paranoid does not mean they're not out to get you.
You say that all the time. That's true.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see when there is a team, and we've in recent years, it's heavily Alabama and Georgia and a couple others that has the best prospect of making it with only maybe one loss or no losses some years. There's a lot of money involved in that. And so the memo goes out, consciously or not, to referees, protect this team. They're our best money hope.
Yeah.
Dave?
That would, something. So the hypothesis, let me try to explain this, and I can actually do this research. So it's more of a late season hypothesis. So as it starts to develop into playoff potential, right? The funnel starts shaking down. Do those teams start getting a different ratio of calls in their favor as the season? Oh God, that's delicious.
I really like that. I think some of it's randomness. There are some calls that are so clear cut the refs can't. It's got to be judgment calls.
Yeah, they do.
Right, and there's a subconscious element too. I mean, when I was younger, I worked my way up in college basketball officiating all the way up to D2. And, there would be times in games where you could almost sense the blowout. And it was like, and I know I wasn't supposed to do it, right? But you'd almost be like, well, I want a good game, so I'm going to let a little bit more go on the worst team, and I'm going to call it a little bit tighter on the better team. So maybe I can have a fun game when I'm out here on the court.
Or it's such a blowout, you're thinking, man, that dinner is hot at home. I'd like to just
That's umpires. Fat umpires in Major League Baseball. I'm convinced they do that.
All right, let me say, Brad Bellamy, you are walking. Obviously, you look like you're at the monastery. I'm not sure where you are, but Brad Bellamy, Landers Ford on here. We got Dave Bartoo.
To a nunnery.
College football matrix. Yes, that's right. He's discerning the priesthood. But
Alabama.
You look. We've been talking with Dave Bartoo on a lot of really cool number stuff in college football. Dave, Brad is the general manager of Landers Ford, one of our sponsors we're blessed to have. And I know you love lines. You love picking games, Brad.
Right.
This guy right here, Brad Bellamy, Dave Bartoo, has a mind like a steel trap. and a supercomputer all in one. What are your hot games this weekend, Brad?
Well, I mean, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I am as close to a monastery as it can be. I'm actually at my alma mater this weekend. So I
probably look like Bama.
I'm speaking at Harding. So I'm Faith and Business Symposium today in the business school.
Cool.
So
Nice.
so I'm on remote this morning, and glad to be with you guys. You know, it is the last weekend of the month, so really excited about what we have to offer at the dealership, and huge programs on F-150s. We closed out the month over 10 grand off, and then 3.9 for 72. In addition to that, we got all of our EVs priced at A-Plan, Rob. So we got the Power Promise program still going on, 0 for 72, great lease deals. And Brendan, we're still waiting for you to come out and get a Bronco. I mean, you got the hat on today for it. So your coach is gone. You know, it's time to celebrate. It's time to come out and see us at Landers.
I know those expeditions are looking
happen.
so. I was in one of those expeditions last week at a soccer tournament, and I was like, man, that giant iPhone situation in the front. I was like, I need to be in one of these, maybe.
They're big ones.
Well,
Brad,
whatever,
also
whatever we got to do,
Broncos.
man.
All right, we're gonna do this,
Yeah.
Bartoo. I'm dead, Bartoo. I'm gonna go see Bartoo in Oregon after I come down and and come to Landers, and I'll drive out to see Bartoo. That's my whole goal.
And you promised me to come have my damn gumbo. We're waiting on you, Brendan Martin. We're waiting on you.
I'm waiting for I want to invite to the RV in the pregame.
You got it. But hey, go tell them this. I'm not going to Central High School this year. I'm not going to
coaches. Why don't we get a couple of head coaches, and then maybe we can have a conversation?
That's right. That's right.
We'll do it. Brad, let me ask you this right now. I love the Broncos, the F-150s, the 250s, the King Ranches. You've got the Escapes. You've got the Explorer, the Ford Explorers. You got a lot to choose from on a massive lot out there. And I want to say, Dave, anybody watching, they'll deliver anywhere, but you can't find a better community corporate partner than Landers Ford. Their name is everywhere in the Mid-South. And Brad, not every dealership does that. Y'all are the exception, not the norm, Landers Ford. And we are really, really proud and honored to have y'all as a sponsor.
Well, Rob, I appreciate that. And I'll tell you what, this week was a perfect example of that. So at the Germantown School District kickoff at the beginning of the year, Kent Ritchie, one of our owners, decided it was time to give the Teachers of the Year a little bit more than just a pat on the back and a $200 gift card. So we actually handed out $5,000 checks to the Teachers of the Year, both the elementary, middle, and high schools over in Germantown on Tuesday night. Got to honor a whole bunch of their students. And, you know, it's just really incredible, just the philanthropy of the group that I'm with, and how much we're involved in the different schools and just trying to give back to those. I mean, one of the teachers came up to him after the fact and said, I've never got a check this big. It's the biggest check I've ever gotten in my life. And I think sometimes we take for granted, you know, how much some of these things mean to a lot of people. And I mean, the teachers are the most important. I mean, they're the backbone of our community, and how many of us are where we are because of the teachers that we experience and engaged with.
Yeah, one other thing, Kent,
you should make it an NIL deal where they have to talk about Landers Ford.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
you know, sometimes it's not just about us, guys. It's about them too.
Yeah, you know, but I will say this, guys. Kent Ritchie, Don Kitchens, you, Brad, y'all are tip of the spear. So thank you. Let me ask you what games you hot on, because Dave is here with he's got some answers for you, I bet.
Well, I mean, I'm going to keep riding Vandy. I've been on Vandy for the last 3 weeks, and they've continued to show up and show out. So why not go with them again this week? That's one that I really like. But I think it's going to be, a fun weekend, and I'm sure we'll see some more upsets we weren't expecting. I think Ohio State's going to dominate against Penn State. I mean, their defense has been phenomenal. Their offense has been putting up points. They have a little axe to grind against Penn State after last year. So, I think that's going to be a pretty significant game for them. And also, it's gonna be a fun weekend. So what are you guys hot on this weekend?
Dave,
I'm hot on.
When it comes down to the SEC, by the numbers, okay, and I got everything pulled up right here. The first one that catches my eye is Auburn laying 10 at home. Home teams -10. They only cover that a third of the time historically in college football in the 4-week window, and that line's moved up to minus 10.5. Yeah, I mean Kentucky's offense. I mean it's been first to 20 for 10 years with Stoops, but Brad White's still one of the better defensive coordinators. I think this is a massive defensive matchup. The line's moved up to 10.5, so you get even better value right now with that. So I do like the numbers like Kentucky covering that one. And this one might surprise people in terms of the total. Oklahoma and Tennessee actually opened at 55.5, moved up to 56. And historically, those are under opens and movement. So, right now we got Kentucky to cover and Oklahoma, Tennessee going under in their football game is a couple that I'm watching betting wise in the SEC this week. Brought to you by Landers Board.
Love it. And my best, and guys, clearly my best bet is Governor Jeff Landry will be starring in Waterboys 2 if Adam Sandler ever comes down and does it.
I think you're right. I think that's right. I think that's going to happen.
That was the funniest.
Farmer Fran.
Hey, I was just
thinking out. Doesn't say Landers, you paid too much. It would be even better. So I love
I'm just thinking on my.
You done did pay too much.
Bartoo, you're going to cheap shot at my man Dave Bartoo. I'm going to pick Tulane to take down UTSA. Oh wait, that was last night. Hey, your boy John Sumrall. That was no more predictive than Nick Saban losing to La Mo in 2007, or Miami's coach losing to Louisville earlier this year. Sumrall's still a hot property, don't you agree, Dave?
Oh, well, you know something? It actually, while you were talking, because we were talking about hypothesis, right? Like, what does a team do after their head coach gets fired in October? We don't have a sample size on that. One of the things I want to explore now is what happens if there's a hot name out there,
distractions,
and he's distracted.
Yep, they were
right
distracted.
because I love John Summerall on paper. I love him, right? And I think North Carolina. I was screaming that North Carolina didn't grab him last year. I'm screaming, but somebody I think is going to be a beneficiary of that. I think the writing on the wall with Tulane getting smoked by UTSA like that is simply John's going somewhere else, right? I mean, it's just that's not typical for him.
Whoever wants to hire him wins last night because you don't have to wait around for the college football playoff selection.
Right. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I didn't realize the UTSA stat line over the last few years about the fact that they haven't lost a home game in the AAC. I mean, I missed that. I wish I would have paid attention to that before the game last night. But and that other thing, the same scenario is going with SMU and Miami this weekend. A lot of people talking about the head coach at SMU going somewhere else. That line has moved from 12.5 to 10.5 now. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that game breaks down because he's obviously got an opportunity to go somewhere else too. But is the team behind that? Do they fight for that at that point, or I mean, it's a great scenario to understand. And I mean, we've kind of already seen what are the aftermaths of some coaches leaving, and then obviously, it showed up great for UAB in that game against Memphis.
Yeah. Frank,
you're the great Nick Saban, the GOAT Saban, who's really become so much fun on game day. The football IQ of all football nation is going up since we get to see Saban do X's and O's on game day. But he tells a funny story about he's strolling across the campus in Tuscaloosa several years ago and encounters this young female student, and she's wearing blue jeans that probably retailed for $300 or $400, and they have tears in the knees and they're all beat up. They call that weathered, I guess, the weathered look. And Saban asked her, what's with the blue jeans? He said, and she said, oh, these are the thing now. They're hot. He said, what'd you pay for them? She told him $350. He said, when I was growing up poor in West Virginia, that's how my jeans looked because we couldn't afford new jeans. And Saban just says, how did we get here? And I ask you guys, how did we get here that Vanderbilt and Indiana are going to play for the national championship in January?
Wow.
Or Texas Tech, and pick your team,
Yeah. I mean, it really is. We got just a couple of minutes left, and got the interest. Look, Guys, look at the TV numbers right now. I mean, it's like people watching the 6 o'clock news to see the video of a 10-car pileup on the interstate. That's what's happening in college football.
Yeah, I can't add any more to that. I'm shell shocked over here. And by the way, don't forget, tune in 15 minutes because I have a little bit to say about LSU football. We picked the right time to launch an LSU podcast this month. I'm just letting you know. We picked the right time.
Clickbait and red stick.
Right.
Yeah, we actually did. And I'm going to tell y'all something. The energy, the interest, that Vandy, Texas game, who would have thought we're all going to be watching that, Dave Bartoo? Dave, these lights out gummies work. I slept last night. I got a pinched nerve on my right side. Been to the chiropractor 4 times. I said, you ought to be giving out gummies when you do these chiropractic sessions because these things work. You can actually sleep. It's amazing. Order them. Use the promo code Sidelines for 25% off. Dave, your parting thoughts, and I know Doug had something. We got to get it in under an hour, but your parting thoughts, Dave, on the state of college football and what you think this coaching search stuff is nuts. It's crazy.
Oh, it is, but it's also I think people reacting to one of the guys said before is this would be different if transfer portal was February, right, or March, and I wish it was. I don't like everything coming to the filter coming to a head in December, and sports are copycat, and we got a domino flip early. People panic. Now everybody else is panicking to get their domino lined up. Yeah. And look, maybe we were just due for a hard reset on the coaching side of it because, there wasn't a lot of turnover in the last couple of years. And so, this is just part of evening out the curve in terms of coaching turnover. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think the bigger thing is not necessarily who's getting fired, is who's going to be replacing these guys. Because like I said, we got 11 firings. That means there's going to be 22 guys moving around minimum, plus all the staffing that has to go with it. You think about 12 times 20. Now you're talking 350, 400 guys on the move just with the firings alone today. Yeah. Right. And there's not a lot of good options out there. So I don't know how much crazier it's going to get, but it's already nuts.
Yeah, Dave, Doug, we got about a minute. So
most of my comments can wait a week for the most part. But back to Saban's, how did we get here? If you could do futures trading in college football for coaches on August 30th with a November 30th purchase date that is enforceable, Mike Norvell would have had a $10 million salary price. November 30th, and Kalen DeBoer, the price would be, what's the buyout? $70 million buyout.
Yeah.
And how you got to be careful about being a prisoner of the moment. And by the way, Chris Lowe broke on another podcast that FSU was poised to hire Lane Kiffin if it had played out that they hired Norvell. It's a game on the field, but it's also a game of twists and turns in the coaching sweepstakes. And that's why it pains me to say this, but I think the billionaires that run the Auburn football program may be thinking, I'm not reporting anything direct from them here, I'm speculating. Something to be said for a year or so of tweaking some things offensively and exodus of available portal talent from all these coaching changes that give you some opportunities. And I'm not a freeze guy. I think he needs to step down, but that's got to be in the calculus.
It really does. Look, great stuff, guys. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Support all of our sponsors like Landers Ford, all these great people. Thank you so much. Hewlett & Dunn, Rumble Boxing, all of them on the Sidelines.live website. Brad, have a great speech today.
Happy Halloween,
Dave,
guys.
Thank you so much. Executive producer Jimmy Martin. Happy Halloween, everybody. Let's be good. Have a great weekend,
Call me,
everybody.
Bartoo. We got to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to do the show first, and then we'll talk.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much.
Coming up next, me and the Duffster are going to have a whole show about LSU. So
coming up. I'll be watching. I ain't going anywhere. Must watch. Gold to go.
Alexander. Oh, sorry, missed him.